Do you ever feel like you've become a doormat for other people? Maybe you felt like that your entire life. That because of your kindness, your lovingness, your generosity, that others take advantage of you. I know exactly how that feels because I lived that way for most of my life. I'd like to share with you a method of being your true loving self without being turned into a doormat. So you can be authentically kind and loving like you've always wanted to be. Hi, my name is Richard Haight. I lived in Japan for 15 years, where I received 4 master's degrees in samurai arts as well as 1 healing art. And during my study, I realized the oneness which the great spiritual masters of the past often spoke of. I'd like to share some of that wisdom with you. If you want to learn a set of secret samurai techniques that are all about gaining more awareness in your life, it's most like a meditation, but not like a meditation you've ever learned or been exposed to before. I'd like to share that meditation with you so that it may transform your life in the way that it transformed mine. I'm offering a free 7-day trial. You can click on the link below to begin today. I'd love to see you there. All right, let's begin the topic of this video. Yesterday, I produced a video, and it was how to no longer be overwhelmed by other people's energies, and received a number of emails in response. One of them was talking about the necessity for barriers. Part of the problem with the current world is that we're taught oftentimes that that there isn't a value to barriers, or that barriers are regressive, I guess would be a way of saying. Unfortunately, the concept that barriers are either progressive or regressive is false, because barriers are simply a facet of life. The optimum balance, if we look at yin and yang, you might have seen the yin yang diagram. It's white on one side, black on the other, and there's the opposite dots in each, and a line that divides them, a kind of curved line that divides them. And so what this really is about is extremes or opposite forces that work together to create structure and flow. And when either side becomes too strong, there is a decay in the process. When the yin, which would be the dark side, becomes too strong, there's a chaos that takes over, a loss of identity, a loss of structure, breakdown of structure. And when the white side, which would be knowledge and organization or order, takes too much power, gets out of balance, there's a kind of tyranny that takes over. Both of these forces ultimately lead to a kind of authoritative type situation that ultimately breaks down society, and then something new has to be reborn. The optimum place to be is in the very, very center, or the nexus between infinite circles. And now this sounds very philosophical, but really it is not a philosophy. It's just a very careful observation of life. In order for the river to flow, it needs embankments to guide its energy. The embankments would be the yang. That's the order or structure. So that the water, which would be considered a yin element at this level of observation, can flow in a direction. It doesn't just spread everywhere. But even if we look at the water itself, we can see that the water is made up of energetic fields that we call atoms. Those are structures. That would be a yang aspect, an order to them. There's the atoms in them and the molecular structure and the relationship between them. The forces would be a yin structure. The connection and the structure of the molecules would be a yang structure that allows for the atom or the molecule of water to exist so that we can drink, which leads us to our blood. Within the blood, there's the water that's flowing, the flowing aspect, but it's flowing within the veins or the vascular structures, which are walls and structures. There are porous walls and structures that allows transfer of nutrient and substance, but they are a kind of structure. And then you have the liquid within that creates the blood, the plasma. And in the plasma, you have the red blood cells, for example. The cells themselves have a structure. The plasma itself has structure to it. It has a yang aspect to it. So at any level of of observation, we can see that there's both the element of yin and yang going on at the same time. There are boundaries, yet the boundaries are permeable to some degree. The ideal level of permeability is what we're looking for. To have boundaries that are too hard cuts us off from life entirely, and we will wither. To have boundaries that are too soft will allow others to trample over us, and we will wither. Not only that, it's bad for them as well, because they start to become narcissistic. It actually rewards narcissistic, selfish behavior, and it's probably not a good idea to be rewarding narcissistic, selfish behavior, especially in your children or in your family. In order to not be a doormat or to be taken advantage of at all times, we need to be able to set firm boundaries and mean them. If we have an agreeable personality type, we want to be seen and to be liked. We want others to be happy. We want to be pleasers. The disadvantage of that is that other people know that that's true, and they will perceive it oftentimes, not everyone, but the people that really matter in this equation, the people that would take advantage of you, will see that as weakness. They know you're a sucker. It's not a judgment against you. I was a sucker for a long time. I understand it. Been there. It's not a pleasant place to be, especially if we're moving through the awakening path. Once we're moving through the awakening path, we start to really wonder why it is we can't say no. Then we start to realize ourselves. We start to feel how weak the energy is, and that actually there's a kind of cowardliness behind it. It has nothing to do really with compassion. We're not actually always. Sometimes it's true that we are really hoping that we can better other people's lives, but oftentimes we really do want to say no, and we really don't want to do that thing that they're being asked of. And we're only really saying yes because we don't want to look bad, or we want to avoid an argument or being uncomfortable. And therein lies the answer. When you say no, don't be uncomfortable. Say no and mean it, and don't be uncomfortable. You just say, no, that's not for me, thank you, and walk away. Because what that person will try to do is to keep you in the conversation. They will try to ask you again, change it. They'll ask you why, and so on and so on. It's not their reason to know. It's not their prerogative to know why you say no. You don't need to explain yourself. You just say, no, that's not right for me. Thank you, and move on. When I was in Japan, I was advised by one of my instructors that if the Yakuza ever approached me, to just keep walking. If they approach me, I should start walking. And if they talk to me, just answer while walking, just keep walking, but don't give a long answer, very short answer, or just ignore them entirely. But just keep walking. Be a moving target. Don't be a standing target. Now, it's important to have boundaries. And some people might say, for example, that I teach the way of oneness, the way of harmony. And in this oneness, oftentimes that I describe it as a transcendent presence that's throughout all that is. That it just sort of is interpreted by others as if it has no boundaries. And it's true, because it's throughout all that is, it has no boundaries. But at that level, it's also not exactly embodied in a specific identity, which means it doesn't have a specific body that needs protecting in order to survive. The physical human body needs protecting, needs insulation, needs food, needs water, needs the right nutrients without the toxins. Of course, there's some variation on both. You do need a certain amount of toxicity in order to stimulate and keep your immune system toned. Again, the balance of yin and yang. But so long as we're in a body, we do need to have boundaries. So long as we have families, we need to have boundaries. This is not wrong. In fact, it's quite right. It's the emotions behind the boundaries that are the issue. Have the boundaries without having the reactive emotions would be the direction in which we're heading. So you just simply say, no, I mean, with authority, no, that's not right for me, thank you, and move on. Go about your business. If they keep pressing, you just tell them you already have your answer, thank you. If they keep pressing, they're clearly not your ally. They're clearly not your friend. Let them know there's no need for us to keep this conversation going. I've told you what I felt. Please respect that. You don't need to please this person, because no matter what you do, they won't be pleased. They're just going to want more. They're essentially functioning as a parasite. Part of the reason they're functioning as a parasite is because it has worked for them. It's totally understandable. Whatever strategy that they've used has worked for them. They've gotten what they wanted as a result of doing it. Oftentimes we do what we find works for us. And if having played the role of a parasite or being pushy has worked for them, they're going to continue doing that. It's only worked for them because you've allowed it. And of course, others have allowed it. I allowed it. So we have a balancing act. We have the balancing act of having boundaries with awareness. Boundaries that are not too hard, because we don't want to become embittered or too overreactive. Yet we want to definitely mean no to the people that need to hear no. And we definitely want to prioritize our time to give it to those who actually deserve it, and give it to the projects that actually need our attention, that which is constructive. The more successful, quote unquote, you are in achieving your goals and in the world, you'll find that you simply have less time to waste on useless activities. And at some point, you will have to put up boundaries. Just understand that there's no immorality to putting up boundaries. In fact, it is perfectly right. It has nothing to do with morality whatsoever. It's built into the very structure of physical existence. It's when you find the right balance that the harmony is realized in the physicality. So the first practice is to start practicing saying no. You need to actually go through the practice of saying no and meaning it. Not with anger, not with frustration, although you probably will feel those. That's not the aim. Not with fear. Although certainly the first time you say it, your heartbeat will race, your breathing will tighten, you'll feel awkward, you might even, your physical body might start shaking, your words, you might quiver, your voice may quiver. All of that will happen. Just know that it's a necessary practice. It's okay. And you will get better at it. The first time will be extraordinarily difficult, but it'll get easier and easier as you practice. Begin your practice today. If you'd like to become much better at this practice and you kind of get that balance of yin and yang in your life and really incorporate awareness so that you're no longer suffering from this sort of, doormat syndrome, go ahead and try that 7-day guided meditation course that I offer below. Go ahead and click the link, go there, try it. You're going to love it. Hope to see you there. Bye-bye.